A Green Country attorney charged with serious crimes like murder for hire and soliciting prostitutes is no longer facing any charges. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Shay Rozzi.
And I'm Sarah Whaley. Back in 2019, attorney Winston Connor was hit with 10 charges that could have put him in prison for the rest of his life. This week, though, the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals threw out the last of the charges against him.
New at 5, Fox 23 anchor Rick Marinon is live in studio with why Connor's attorneys say the case against their client was faulty from the start.
Yeah, and think back as to everything we've gone through when we first brought you coverage of this case and his arrest back in 2019 before the 2020 election and before COVID. That's when all of this happened. Now, 5 years later, Winston Connor is a free man, and everything we told you about Connor back then was disproven in court. What started out as a media spectacle ended in a whimper this week.
I am truly stunned at the vindictiveness and jealousy that motivated this orchestrated investigation that culminated in these outrageous charges.
Since the beginning, Green Country attorney Winston Connor has proclaimed his innocence against 10 criminal charges a grand jury indicted him on back in 2019. Those charges range from murder for hire, soliciting prostitutes, assault, and drug charges.
That's how weak this case was. The 10 counts indicted, not a single count even got close to making it to trial.
Connor's attorneys, Paul DeMuro and Clark Brewster, say the case was flawed from the start, and the gathering of evidence alone used against Connor was illegal and unprecedented.
The frustrating thing as a defense lawyer in this case was the inability or the refusal of the prosecution to see the evidence in its true light once it was fully digested and exposed.
The case took 5 years to work its way through the court system, and it never reached trial stages. Connor's attorneys say there were so many legal issues they were able to get charges thrown out one by one. It also took so long because for much of it, the pandemic slowed things down to a near halt.
When something like this is filed, it's not something that the prosecution ever does to try to understand or do the right thing, and that's what happened here, honestly. It's not a matter of strategy, we're going to try to win this. It was like, we got it out there, we're just going to stay the course kind of thing.
Brewster and DeMuro say Connor was targeted because he's a successful attorney who does good work for his clients. Clients prosecutors wanted behind bars, and when they couldn't get the clients, they went after their successful attorney. DeMuro says the proof of retribution was in the way investigators handled the case, while Connor was out of the country on a family vacation.
They generate an arrest warrant when he's out of the country, knowing that that's going to trigger a NCIC fugitive warrant, so that when he comes back into the country, flies back into the country in Charlotte with his mother, with his 80-year-old mother and his family with him at an airport, that he gets pulled aside as a fugitive, arrested in a faraway city, Charlotte, North Carolina, and then he has to deal with getting extradited back to Oklahoma like he's some sort of terrorist.
The final nail in the coffin for the case against Connor came Monday when the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals threw out the last remaining charges against him, saying the state did not have the power to pursue them. Even though the trial took place in Tulsa County for the most part, the Oklahoma Attorney General's office was the one prosecuting the case. I reached out. They had no comment about all of Connor's charges being thrown out. Live in studio covering news that matters, I'm Rick Marinon, Fox 23 News.